I was 30,000 feet in the air when my whole world tilted sideways. The seatbelt light was still on. The cabin was quiet except for the soft hum of the engines. I had just closed my eyes, smiling at the thought of the soft hotel bed waiting for me in the city. After months of working late, skipping weekends, and pushing through exhaustion, this trip was supposed to be my small reward. A quiet room. A view of the skyline. 3 nights to breathe again. Then my phone lit up with a notification I will never forget. Your reservation has been cancelled. I stared at the screen, certain it was a mistake. I opened the hotel app. Confirmed, cancelled, by the same email address I had used for years, my mother's. My hands started shaking. I read the message again and again, hoping the words would rearrange themselves into something that made sense. They didn't. Mid-flight. No warning, no call, just gone. I pressed my forehead against the cool window and tried to steady my breathing. Below me, the clouds looked soft and peaceful, the complete opposite of everything I was feeling. Tears burned behind my eyes, but I refused to let them fall in front of strangers. I had spent my whole life learning how to hold things in around her. This was just another lesson I never asked for. People always told me I was lucky to have a mother who cared so much. They never saw the version of caring that came with conditions. They never heard the sharp comments dressed up as advice, or the way she could smile at me in public and cut me down the moment we were alone. For years I told myself it was just her way, that deep down she loved me, that if I worked harder, achieved more, stayed quieter, she would finally be proud. This trip was supposed to prove something mostly to myself, that I could take up space, that I could enjoy something without asking permission. I had booked the room weeks earlier with my own money. I had planned every detail carefully so nothing would go wrong. And still, from the ground, she reached up and took it away. The flight attendant asked if I was all right. I managed a small nod and a forced smile. Inside, everything was cracking. I kept replaying the last conversation we had. She had asked where I was staying. I told her the name of the hotel, proud of the little upgrade I had given myself. She had gone quiet for a second, then said, "That's nice for you." I should have heard the edge in her voice. I didn't. By the time the plane began its descent, my chest felt tight and heavy. I didn't know where I would sleep that night. I didn't know why she had done it. All I knew was that the woman who was supposed to protect me had just left me stranded in the sky, and the worst part was that a small, tired part of me wasn't even surprised. Mid. The betrayal didn't start on that flight. It had been building for years, quiet and steady, like water wearing down stone. Growing up, I learned early that my mother's love came with a price. Good grades were expected, never celebrated. Any success of mine somehow became a story about her sacrifices. If I bought something nice for myself, she would find a way to make me feel guilty. If I set a boundary, she called it selfish. I spent so many years trying to earn a softness she never seemed willing to give. After I moved out and started building my own life, the pattern only changed shape. She still found ways to stay in control. She would show up unannounced. She would make plans that involved me without asking. She would speak about my choices to relatives in a tone that painted me as ungrateful. Every time I tried to pull away, she pulled harder through guilt, through tears, through the reminder that family is everything. 2 months before the trip, something shifted. I had finally saved enough to take a short break. I told her about it casually over the phone. She asked detailed questions about the dates, the hotel, the cost. At the time, I thought she was interested. Now I see she was collecting information. The night before my flight, she called, voice unusually sweet. She said she and her new partner had decided to take a little getaway of their own to the same city, the same dates. They had booked the presidential suite at the very same hotel. She laughed and said, "We'll be right upstairs from you." Isn't that funny? Something in my stomach turned, but I pushed the feeling down. I told myself it was coincidence. I told myself I was being paranoid. I wasn't. While I was in the air, she cancelled my room. Later, I learned she had called the front desk, claimed there had been a family emergency. and used the confirmation details I had once shared with her to make the change. She didn't even try to hide it. When I finally landed and called her, she answered with a calm, almost bored tone. "You didn't really need that room," she said. "You're always so dramatic about these things. You can stay with us if you want. We have space." Space in the presidential suite she had booked for herself and the man she had only been seeing for a few months. The suite that cost more per night than I spent on rent. The suite she made sure I knew about. I stood in the airport with my suitcase and a dead reservation, listening to her offer me a corner of her luxury as if it were generosity. In that moment, something inside me broke open, not with more pain, but with clarity. I saw the pattern fully for the first time. This wasn't a one-time cruelty. This was the same story, rewritten. She could have the best, and I was expected to be grateful for whatever scraps she decided to leave me. I hung up without saying goodbye. My hands were steady now. The tears had stopped. In their place was a quiet, cold understanding. I had spent years trying to be the daughter she wanted. Tonight I was going to stop. I opened my phone and looked up the hotel again. Then I did something I had never allowed myself to do before. I stopped asking how to fix the relationship and started asking how to protect myself. I didn't scream, I didn't beg, I simply used the tools I already had. The presidential suite had been booked on a card that was still linked to an old family account. I had access to an account she had insisted I stay on just in case. I had never touched it before. That night I did. I called the hotel, verified the details, and explained that the suite needed to be released immediately due to a billing conflict. The front desk was professional and efficient. Within 3 minutes, the reservation was gone. I didn't gloat. I didn't send her a message. I simply booked a new room in a quieter hotel across the city with my own money and went there in silence. Later that night, my phone lit up with missed calls and angry texts. She had arrived to check in and discovered the suite no longer existed. The hotel had no record of it. She was left standing in the lobby with her partner, luggage, and no place to stay. For the first time, the inconvenience belonged to her. I didn't answer. I turned the phone face down and slept better than I had in years. In the days that followed, the fallout was quiet but final. She tried to frame the story as me being vengeful and ungrateful. A few relatives called to scold me. I listened once, then stopped taking those calls too. I blocked the numbers that only ever carried her voice. I changed the passwords she still knew. I removed myself from every shared account. It didn't feel like victory in the loud, dramatic way people imagine. It felt like setting down a heavy bag I had been carrying since childhood. The anger faded. The need to explain myself faded. What remained was a simple, solid truth. I am allowed to protect my peace, even from the people who share my blood. I still think about that flight sometimes. The moment the notification appeared and the sky outside looked so calm while everything inside me was breaking. I used to believe that breaking meant I had failed. Now I understand it was the moment I finally chose myself. Some lessons arrive gently. Others arrive at 30,000 feet with a cancelled reservation and a phone screen full of shock. Both can teach you the same thing. Love that constantly costs you your dignity is not love you are required to keep. I kept the quiet room I booked that night. I kept the view. And for the first time in a long time, I kept myself.